Hello, welcome to Gathering the Roll for October 17th, 2017. I hope everybody is having yourselves a great day. Welcome to this tabletop news program, brought to you, of course, by the Dracovin Empire. So today we do have some exciting and fantastic news for you in the worlds of very many things, from CCGs to RPGs, collectible card games, to role-playing games, and more. So why don't we just dive into the news and, of course, start with the CCG binder. So we have... there we go. Some CardFight Vanguard news. So CardFight Vanguard has released a new booster set, the Booster Volume 12, Dragon King's Awakening. All about this popular Dragon Heart Lord finally awakening as a Dragon King. That's the sort of plot line of the entire card set. This set does have 104 cards to it, and it sees a change from traditional packs, booster packs that you have. It moves from 5 cards per pack to 7, and the pack will include 2 rare cards and possibly 1 high rarity card. Approximately 1 high rarity per 2 packs is what they're guaranteeing now. 2 high rarity may be included in the same pack if you get really lucky, though. So it's a bunch of featured clans, new pack out. You can get it now if you're a big fan of CardFight Vanguard. Hey, you can check it out. But let's move right along, of course, to Pathfinder and Paizo. So we're entering the RPG bookshelf. So for today, we're talking about the Fungus Forest first, the new map pack. So this is if you're exploring strange forests and caves. Perhaps you're finding an area that's filled with, well, fungus. You can add them all together to make one big forest filled with all kinds of fungal creatures and mycenoid monsters. Or you could just have it certain areas in dungeons, in a cave that has an area of growing mushrooms, in a forest that's been overrun. It's up to you how you want to use this map pack, all about, your forests, well, being filled with fungus. Also out is Bigger Keeps. This one is, well, just what it sounds like. You're getting some bigger keeps, the mightier strongholds, places that you may be defending against an invading army, or having a, well, enemy that you're going to be invading and taking over. Perhaps you want to crush them, take it over. This area has a large success, as it's a flip map, so it does have 2 large sides that you can use. It's a multi-level keep, complete with armory, arrow slits, special yards, guard towers, mess hall, moat, all the things you need for very classic keeps that you can check out now. And, well, if you want a big keep and you just want to quickly put it together, flip maps are your ways to get a lot of these things together. Now, also out, of course, we do have Starfinder. So we're going to be talking about a little bit of Starfinder news. The Dead Suns Adventure Path, the first adventure path out for Starfinder, has its 2nd adventure being released, Temple of the 12. So this one has your characters, your heroes, basically going to the planet of Castrovel, one of the pack worlds. And some of the best universities are on Castrovel. They're trying to learn about a mysterious asteroid called Drift Rock. And it's pointing towards this temple, a lost elven temple, Temple of the 12. And so now you must journey against dangerous jungles, learn of some of the secrets, lost alien technologies. It's a new adventure for the Dead Suns Adventure Path for your 3rd level Starfinder characters. You can check it out now. It does, of course, as usual, include a number of interesting and different alien creatures you can use. But also out from Starfinder is, of course, the flip map Cantina. Ooh, this is a nice one. So, sometimes you need to go to a bar or a place where you can just hang out, listen to some music, maybe meet with some folks. There's your cantina for you. The classic scene from things like Star Wars, where they're in the bar, the cantina. Now you can have it too with this flip map for Starfinder. 2 sides, one representing a more high-class option for your, well, carousing, and maybe some dance partying, rich planets. The other side, well, it's a little bit of the low life, a little bit of the backwater dive, where lasers fly, drinks are flowing, and everything's a bit of a show. Maybe some gambling, all that kind of thing. Maybe you're trying to negotiate with a freighter captain to get some transport off the planet. So, depending on what kind of cantina you want to check out, both sides of the flip mat will provide you with one that you can use for your Starfinder adventures now. But let's move on from, of course, Starfinder. We do have some more RPG news for our bookshelf here from GURPS. How to be a GM. So this is an interesting one because this is, well, how to be a GM in GURPS. GURPS is a system that has a lot of books, a lot of possibility, and sometimes, well, you just need some help. It gives example of helping for character creation, fantasy templates, information you need to help develop your campaign. Well, it's just on the character creation of your heroes, build other things based upon many of the other books. And it does have an overview of the 4th edition line, all the resources, the most popular genres, information that's going to help you not only build your own campaign, but help to develop yourself as a GM, especially when it comes to GURPS, because it does have so much product information out there, it can be a little overwhelming. It does provide some insight on some various kind of characters and the line itself to help you out. So, hey, this is a great way that if you want to get into GURPS and you don't know where to start when it comes to actually running GURPS, you can check this out now and, of course, learn how to be a GM in GURPS. Let's move on from there, though, because guess what? It's time for the card game desk. Hey, we got Spynet. So this is the first of a couple releases from Z-Man Games that came out this week. This one is about being a spy agency, but each player is taking the role of their own spy agency. So 2 to 4 players are spy masters, strategically recruiting, deploying agents, having them boost their power in the basically 4 different branches of espionage, going against mission cards in order to score points. You'll want to have the various type of special cards to help enhance your spies, make sure that they successfully infiltrate the shadows, get the missions done, and for you to become the greatest spy master of them all. So you can actually check out Spynet now as an interesting game of spies between each other. An interesting take on the spy genre when we have a lot of things like Resistance, which tends to be a little more co-op / competitive rather than just competitive. But let's move on and talk about the other release from Z-Man Games, Jungle, because it's got 2 G's, which is in fact 5 games in one. So we're taking a safari trip to a jungle, all kinds of big and small animals. We're gearing up to head out there. The big thing about this game is there are 5 games in one. Unique mini games that you have the choice of which one you want to play, and the deck and the animal wheel that are provided with the game can be used for any of these 5. Now, it is important to note on the animal wheel that the creature immediately before it is what the animal you're on is scared of. So something like a elephant, immediately before it would be a mouse. Mouse would be afraid of snake, etc., as you go around the wheel. So each of these has that unique dynamic of animal afraid of animal, and you of course have your animal cards that you can choose which of these 5 party games to play. So I think this was an interesting one to check out because, again, 5 different games for one product. And you can, of course, check it out now. It is available that you can get Jungle. So thanks to Z-Man Games for yet another interesting release. All right. Let's move on, though, and talk about Rotten Plots. So Rotten Plots is a party game. It's a party game that you're going to play with a bunch of players, and the idea of it is that this is really for sick and twisted people, it's supposed to be. So it's more of an adult party game. You're going to come up with a hilarious and ridiculous movie concept. And the point of the game is that you're creating the most entertaining movie plot. And your plot will technically run a movie, and after the end of that movie, of course, you can possibly win awards. If you win enough, you'll make it to the top of the industry, but then again, you could also make it to the bottom of the industry. So it depends on how kind of your movies end up being. So it is 3 to 10 players that you can get together for this game, where you're making plots for movies. And it's a fun little party game for adults again that you can get everybody together and try out. Now, let's talk about another card game. Dungeon Hustle. So Dungeon Hustle. Oh, sorry. Uh-oh, wrong order. Apologies, people. Wrong order for games. So, we're continuing with the card game desk. That was my mistake there, folks. Mixed up my images. I had the right order on where I was talking about things, but in the images, I messed that up. So, next up is another kind of... I'm going to call it card game, even though it's more of a word game, because we don't have a category for word games now, do we? We have card and board games. So that's why I'm including it here. So this was a successful Kickstarter. And we're seeing it now being released more to a public audience. That's a good one. So this is a word game where you don't have to be a walking dictionary. You just have to be creative. It's anything goes, and depending on how you're playing the game, it could be for kids, families, adults. It's open to who's playing it. 2 to 8 players. It's only supposed to take 45 minutes to play. It combines, they say Scrabble and categories, but you don't have to have a huge vocabulary, and there's no real ambiguity. It's not the smartest player wins, because it is anything goes. It's being creative. Don't have the large vocabulary. You have 60 seconds to think of hilarious little kind of sets of words, and it's going to be a fun family game that you can throw together. And again, it's supposed to be anything goes. Different types of words, throwing everything together, earn points when you compare to your friends for uniqueness and fun bonuses, and high score at the end of 3 rounds will win the game. So now you can check out, well, snippets and enjoy it yourself. Let's move on and talk about Ashes. So the Ashes Rise of the Phoenix is a card game that has been out. But now we have 2 more, well, expansions for it. The main game is based about you taking the role of a Phoenix-born, using imaginative cards, custom dice, and faithful allies, powerful spells to outwit your opponents in a barrage of magic and strategy. So the new products out are, of course, 2 expansions that have 2 new Phoenix-born. We, of course, have this Phoenix-born here from the Laws of Lions Deluxe expansion, which each of the deluxe expansions includes a Phoenix-born, a number of dice, a dex box, an expansion deck. The other expansion is the Songs of Soxhem. So now you can have 2 Phoenix-borns, Odette Diamondcrest here, or Namin Himtide. So it's your choice which one you might want to buy to expand upon your Ashes, the Rise of the Phoenix-born game. Alright, so let's move on, of course, to some board game news with the board game pile. Alright, everyone. Now I've got it in the right order. Dungeon Hustle. So Dungeon Hustle is out. It's a new game by WizKids. This is all about being an iconic dungeon dweller. You know, you're doing a fighter, rogue, cleric, mage. The same old that we have for a lot of these more fantasy exploration games. But the object is, you know, you're going in there, there's monsters, you're going to fight them. That seems very simple. But this 2 to 4 player game has to deal with ever-changing dungeons. So the dungeon will be in flux, changing. Uh-oh. There we go. I didn't do the right order again. Oh, that's a live show for you. Didn't do the I order again. Anyway, so it deals with you in an ever-changing dungeon, that there's valuable treasure, there's monsters that are hoping to escape the dungeon in the outside world, so not only are you trying to get treasure, you're trying to keep the monsters from invading, and, well, getting everyone. So you will be equipping yourself with various items, from swords, shields, potions, other various things. Items come in color, and you kind of have to go through matching colors as you pick up cards to try to get a path your way, as monsters kind of wander around that you have to defend against, to open up big chests for epic rewards in hopes to basically get the most treasure. It's a epic dungeon fight that you will be all kind of playing together with. Game ends after you go through 3 levels of the dungeon, and the winner is the one with the most golden treasure points from winning all the quests and stuff. So, though you will be, to a degree, kind of working together, the end goal will be to get the most of all these treasures and stuff. And everyone, you know, could possibly lose if too many monsters escape the dungeon. So, you do have to work together to a degree. This is $25, so it is available now. Alright, let's talk about this one. Raxin. So, guess what? It's a global infection, and you're part of the Raxin Pharmaceuticals. You're part of the Crisis Management Unit. So there are cities which are probably not going to be salvaged, citizens, which maybe you could evacuate, but there is basically a global zombie virus going out. It's a zombie apocalypse, and you as part of Raxin are moving into Phase 2, containment. That means you're getting evacuation kits together, and you're trying to help those that you can. So, as part of this cooperative experience, that's a challenge, you're going to deal with some unintended consequences, because you're going to have to investigate crowds, looking for those healthy people to evacuate, in the infection to quarantine or kill, and the choices that you make will actually determine the fate of humanity. Ooh, that's an interesting take on this. And the most you want to get the most healthy survivors you can, and as your power reaches its basically apex, and the undead will overrun the city. So you can only hold out for so long. So this suits 1 to 4 players. You can play it in about an hour, and it is coming out now. So you can check it out if you want to play some, well, Raxin. Alright. Now, also out is Dead of Winter, Warring Colonies, a new expansion for Dead of Winter. So this is going to be a sort of ultimate expansion for Dead of Winter, at least they say. It comes with so much content, it's almost a new variant of the game, which it sort of is, because it does support a team variant for 4 to 11 players, where you can take your Dead of Winter game and compete as 2 different colonies in the same location for a number of limited resources and power. That whoever, well, gets the most and defeats the other wins this in this unique variant. So the colonies will have 2 objectives: battle for territory, survive for one thing, and there are some times where there's some cards that will include both colonies, others that will be basically help you out, and there are the odd man out that adds chaotic balance, basically lone wolves that are out there, secret goals, things like that, that you can keep both colonies in a sort of check. It does come with a number of new survivors, crossword codes, items, crises that could be used in any Dead of Winter game, but of course you could definitely use it with the expansion. You can combine this with the base set, the Long Night Standalone expansion, and this will add you 7 new objectives too. So, 11-player game of Dead of Winter seems like a daunting task, but because they have simultaneous turn mechanics and a sand timer to keep moving things going, you could play with 11 players. So it's $40 now for your Dead of Winter games. You can check it out if you're interested. But let's move on, of course, from our card game pile to the Kickstarter display, because there's a number of new Kickstarters out there I want to talk about. Ones that have come out over the past week or so that are very interesting. And let's start, of course, with Asteroids and Aliens, the new RPG as part that's come up on Kickstarter. So this is going to be a sci-fi RPG, of course. And this is a tabletop role-playing game with a very streamlined mechanics, fast character creation, and a lot of ways to add to the tension of the game itself. It's focusing on telling you stories about alien encounters, abductions, horrors. It's a lot of information based upon popular sci-fi series, both video games, television, and movies. It's supposed to invoke a lot of that. You know, you're trapped in original aliens, trapped in a spaceship, something hunting you down feeling. And that's the point of it. Try to get you that feelings that you're up. So it is up on Kickstarter now. It has... sorry there. It has not yet reached its goal. It's about 50% way to its goal. About 23 days left for you to check out this one. So it is based upon an actual D20 system, but they call it the inverse D20. So it's going to be an interesting little one, where when you roll for your target number on the D20, you have to get below it, equal to or less. So 1 is a critical success, 20 is a critical failure. So you can see here that you can, of course, roll advantage and disadvantage just like in 5th edition. That's an interesting little thing. And character creation will involve you having an origin, basically where you come from, some attributes. They do have 7 attributes for you to choose from. Childhood traits, basically skills and interests, a career path where you went to, and some finishing touches. Choose all of these, and you're pretty good. And they have a concept of dread, basically malevolence, dark aliens you might have to deal with. So, again, it's out now, about 50% funded. If you're interested in checking it out, it does have a couple more weeks out there if you want to just watch it and see if you're interested enough. They do have a couple of interesting, of course, stretch goals you can check out too. So Aliens and Asteroids, it's out. I'd check it out. Let's move on to the next Kickstarter I want to talk about, Battle Lords. So this is another one that's basically set in a sci-fi setting. 23rd Century Productions is putting it out here. This is actually a new edition of Battle Lords. So it is a game that has been out, and they are bringing the 7th edition to us now with a new printed book. So, of course, yes, they're big about this. The original release was in 1990, so we do have this resurgence of some old games using Kickstarter, and here's another one. So it's 15 core races that you can deck your character out with a bunch of high-tech gear. It's set in a dangerous future where the alliance of humans and aliens are fighting for survival against these creatures referred to as the arachnids that are destroying worlds, decimating populations, and advancing into the alliance territory. And your players are taking the characters in the backdrop of this, where they can fight the arachnids directly. They can explore the universe seeking new alien species for allies or technology, or maybe participate in some espionage to further the goals of either their race or possibly some corporate backers that are out there. Now, each race has their own specialties, stories, things like that add them and make them unique. Some of them have their own unique abilities that you can have, and you do have 15 to choose from. And the path you choose in this is unique to yourself. You could be more like a space pirate, a mercenary, an explorer, spy, hero. There's a lot of stories to be told in this universe. That's an interesting one being set up. You'll also deal with, of course, having a wide array of armor that's customizable with over 150 options to your armor, dozens of weapons with different ways to equip it also, so you can combine weapons and armor in a very lot of customizable way, which is unique for some RPGs to have such customizations on, of course, both weapons and armor. So it is nearly funded. It's only a little less than $1,000 away from its funding. 60 hours to go. So this is one that if you're seeing this in a couple days from when I'm putting it out, you might have missed this. So this is one, if you're very interested, I would recommend going and taking a check out now. As I said, it is only about 4 more days, a little less than that, until it is done. So technically that's 3 days. A little less than 3 days. Sorry, math, early morning. So you have about 3 days to consider it, check it out, and wonder if you want to check out Battle Lords. So why don't we, of course, then move on and talk about our next Kickstarter, which is yet another RPG out. Outbreak Undead. So this is the 2nd edition of Outbreak Undead. And this one is basically combining everything that was good with the first one, with not only revamping it, but adding in a 2nd book as part of the Kickstarter, a Game Master Guide. So originally what came out was a book that was the Survivor's Guide to the Zombie Outbreak. That was the first book that came out on its own. So this one is combining both getting the Survivor's Guide, Game Master Guide, as you can see them flipping back and forth there on the screen. Nice little GIF there. So this was an award-winning, basically zombie survival simulation that came back and premiered in 2010. So we are 7 years off, and they want to get a 2nd edition out. So it is 350-page full-color hardback books. That's a big thing. Those are pretty interesting bits of information about it. So it will have 3 layers of realism in the rules to it, and everything about it is adding your realism to your survival horror games, as you take the role of basically survivors trying to survive in a zombie apocalypse. Simple as that. That's the basic concept of it. And as I said, there's 2 books that are going to be part of this: your survivor's guide for your characters, and a second book geared towards Game Masters, the Game Master's Guide, with everything else you need for building your worlds, building your zombie apocalypse world, putting your characters into it, and developing everything as you need to do. It's interesting to say that this is an RPG because it is so realistic, and basically trying to simulate the survival horror, that you will die at some point in time. The fact is, it's not if you're going to die, but when. That's the thing, is your characters will die. And it's going to deal with environments, settings, and the type of apocalypse. There are different types of apocalypse, you know, biologically alive, sentient, slow, fast, various environments, whether you're doing urban, Arctic, jungle, swampland, and various setting, divergent history, modern day, near future, or special, like, more fandomly created worlds. You could probably do with this, with the information provided, fantasy zombie apocalypse even too. Granted, that's one that I'm pretty sure is under the fandoms, but again, it's giving you options that you can help develop some of these things, and because it is realistic, settings like that tend to be not as big, but, you know, you can check it out. Realism is the important thing here, so I guess that would be more historical. And you use the Gestalt system to work with your player stats. There are details for having survival points, strain, opponents, which you might have to deal with other survivals effectively, various tactics and competence. So it is survival horror at its core, no matter what you kind of build for it. And as time goes on, you get more equipment, become more grizzled, and your character should reflect that. So you can, of course, check out the Kickstarter now. It is actually funded. It is at, well, a pretty good percentage of its funding. So it is working on its stretch goals currently. It has reached a couple of its stretch goals already. So that's good for it, and you won't have to worry about it. It's already, as I said, funded. It's at 30, it's over, approaching as a 40,000 mark. And it has, well, 26 days to go. So if you want to check out this Kickstarter now, and of course, you know, get some of the books, you can check it out. They will be part of the Kickstarter, as with most of these. But let's move on in our Kickstarters and talk about some Kickstarters that are, well, board and card games. So first off, we have Mad Moves. It's a crazy fun dance game. So this is another one that's interesting because it doesn't fit into an exact category. This is a Kickstarter game that's going to be all about you getting up off the couch, basically. You're going to be laughing together, being hilarious moves. The idea of it is that you're going to sort of put on performances. It's a little bit of charades, a little bit of dance party, all these things put together. So this is designed for 3 or more players, and it's basically supposed to be pure fun for a family game night or just a group of friends. You spin and draw a card from a corresponding category. These include actions, animals, and people. And you're going to basically be charade-style guessing games and dance battles in order to score points with this. You'll know what the dance is, but it's going to be up to the card holder to interpret the dance with a category. So if you do dance party, everybody's got to be dancing, and of course, you know, then they'll be making their guesses. So maybe you have to combine a couple of these things too. So you might have to limbo like a zombie, or do the twist like a snake. Very interesting things. There are 300 plus mad moves that you can create together with the various cards, categories, and dances. And of course there's tomato cards that you can throw at people. Freeze cards and other special cards that you can use in order to help you out. And there is a midnight spinner that will be sold separately to take it to sort of like a next level of it with like the booty dance and the break dance and things like that. So it's up now. It has about halfway funded, and it has 16 days left to go. So if you're interested in checking out this party game, you can kickstart it now. It's available. Let's move on, though, to the next Kickstarter game, Neon Knights. So this is, of course, a cyberpunk game based upon things like Blade Runner and stuff and various other cyberpunk sources, basically inspired by them. And it's all about car racing in the future. So you're going to be customizing your own futuristic neon car, drafting the best drivers, hitting the raceway, and reaching the finish line. That's the best way of saying it. It's a cyberpunk battle racing board game. It will have a modular track, which you can upgrade your car. You destroy your opponents. Oop, that was not something I intended to do, but we'll live with it. So there's driver skills, customizable cards. You have to have mechanics. A lot of things that you put together to have all these races that you're going through. And so Neon Knights is available. Now this is only about a third of the way towards their goal right now. 20 days to go. But if you like a racing game, because there are some racing board games out there which you might enjoy. I have personally not played any of them, but again, might be your kind of thing. And you like some cyberpunk, you can check it out now. It's got a lot of available cool things. Little car minis, huge board, all the things you need to set up and customize cardboard and have a cool race. Let's, of course, move on and talk about Space Fighter. So Space Fighter board game is just about the dogfight between a number of space fighter. It's the scenes of squadrons of space fighters fighting it out in sci-fi movies, and this is a board game based upon that thrill and excitement. So you get your squad together, and you have to go against your opponent's mothership. You're going to be fighting it out to be triumphant. The last mothership standing wins, but you have to protect your mothership using your 3 fighters and your choice of 2 special fighters. So you have your 3 normal ones, 2 special fighters, 5 fighters at all, and you have to not underestimate your enemy motherships, because they're going to use their own abilities along with their own fighters to try to take you out as you're battling it out. It is a grid-based combat game with elements of some strategy. It's a 2-player game lasting from about 30 minutes or so, and you'll be rolling 3 action dice on your turn to get things like move, attacking, and drawing. And there is a d6, which will be the distance to determine how much your ships travel. So this one has reached about it's gotten about a fifth, almost 2/5 of the way to their it has gotten about a fifth of the way to their goal. 19 days left, so it is coming along. And again, you will have all the special dice, all the special things, and you can check it out now for, of course, if you want to kickstart it or not. It's an interesting looking game of space dogfighting. And now the final Kickstarter I want to talk about today is Death by Cantaloupe. Wow. So this is a new card game up on Kickstarter, and it's a game where players are looking to collect 100 points worth of fruit. And, of course, standing in your way are cards that require a specific combination of fruits to let you pass by them before you can acquire points again. So basically, you have to sort of give up fruit in order to start acquiring points, which are fruit again. It's fast-paced, wacky card game, and you want to avoid the cantaloupe and wish for the crazy coconut. So it's going to be a little strategy, a little luck of the draw as you turn on your friends, along the way. It's for 2 to 4 players that you can play at once. And again, the object is to get that 100 points. First to reach that 100 points wins. So it comes with 108 cards. You'll get 6 cards every deal, play 1 card, and just keep trying to get those points. Look out for the penalty cards. And of course, the crazy coconut can be played automatically or to clear out any Death by Cantaloupe cards, which you do not want. So the Kickstarter's up now. It's only about a 10th of the way, 21 days to go. So if you're interested in checking out this interesting Kickstarter, go ahead now. It's out for a couple more weeks. All right, so that's going to be it for the news for this week. I hope everybody has a great time learning about the news, learning about what's coming out. Remember, we are going to go over some of these games and Kickstarters and such over on Discussing Tabletop. This weekend, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me, Worm, and Joe, maybe a special guest. We'll always find out. And we'll discuss these topics. If you have any questions about them, you can, of course, leave them in the comments to this one when I put it up on YouTube. You can also leave it on the comments of Discussing Tabletop, and we'll talk about it all. We can talk about these games and more. Any questions you have about them, go ahead and ask me. I will leave the links to everything, including all the Kickstarters, in the description below and you can, of course, check it out. But I hope you're having a great day, and of course, I'll be seeing all of you tomorrow for RPG evenings. But other than that, have yourselves a great day.